during 2021, it was like no builder wanted to work with us. They're like, screw you guys.
They try to make it like to where it's like, I'm only giving you 1%.
Yeah, they would take away our bonuses and stuff. Yep, bathrooms are down here. Super delayed. Okay, bathrooms are down here. Okay, hopefully that fixes it. I don't know, but I'm gonna get started. So we are gonna talk about the cash flow of short-term, long-term, and mid-term rentals. I have kind of designed some of these classes to bring more awareness to the investment space. Obviously, we're kind of outnumbered as females, and Rob is here with us, but a lot of females don't get to watch other females. They get to watch the men do it. So that's why I'm here. Mom, I think Bernice is here. So that's Brenda, that's my mom. She's also my gatekeeper. So if you ever need to reach me and you can't reach me, she's the one, because we're usually together, but I do stuff, she brings me the information and I process it. So it's always nice to have someone like that on your team. All right, so sponsors, Imagine Investments. So if you're wondering about the name, it's pronounced Imagine. It's my two kids' names, Emma and Benjamin. So that's how I got here. Great Florida Insurance is Jody. She does rentals. She does homes, cars, boats, RVs. She also does projects. So if you need a project for doing fix and flips, she can help you out. All right, this is me. This is who I am. This is what I've specialized in. I'm a licensed broker. I own my own brokerage, which is Imagine Realty. I also partially own Imagine Investments. That's for wholesalers and other investors that are doing flips, need money, need guidance, need information. We do a lot of training, a ton of training, because we want people to be better. I am a huge proponent of having education. If you don't keep educating yourself, you're disservicing yourself and your clients. So I'm also an investor. I've been on the panelist for creative finance for ORA, which is the Realtors Association of Orlando. Property manager. This is how I got my start, with property management. I've been in it for 8 years. We fix and flip. We have a project going on in Stanford right now. I've done wholesaling as my in-between from property management to where I am now. We kind of went off on our path, and that's how we ended up in investments. I also love structuring creative deals, seller finance, sub-twos, regular deals. Like, I love doing the numbers. I'm such a geek about it. It's the best. Okay, so now that you know what I am, things I am not. Okay, I am not your lawyer. I am not a CPA. I am not a financial advisor, licensed therapist, although some people believe I am. A home inspector, a tire kicker. I am never going to be a tire kicker, and I can't stand tire kickers. I'm not a mind reader. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't tell you what the market's going to do in a year. Nobody knows. No one could have expected what happened during COVID. So literally, I can't tell you. Everything you hear today is all based on my knowledge, and what other people do and have outcomes is up to them. So I'm not responsible if you don't listen and then you buy a rental and you say, oh my God, Amanda, I tanked it. Sorry, not my fault. So we got to make sure that we kind of take that with a grain of salt. So when we're talking about rental terms, we're looking at short term, which is 1 day to 3 months. Midterms are typically 3 months to 6 months. And long term is 6 months plus 1 day. If you're only at 6 months, you're still considered a midterm short term. If you are 6 months and 1 day, you are long term, you pay different taxes. When you are a shorter span of time, you have more taxes. So short terms are taxed as recreational vacation, like a hotel would be, because it's per room. We're turning them over. Midterm, we're looking at 3 to 6 months. So those are our traveling nurses, our doctors, our CEOs that are traveling, usually furnished rentals. Long-term, short-term, it's almost always completely furnished to the gills. Midterm is like, hey, here's your basics, here's your utilities, but the rest is up to you. Long-term, move in, good luck, pay your utilities and pay your rent. You get a house. Good for some people, not good for others, just depends. These are things that you can lease. You can lease homes, townhomes, condos, single rooms, and land. So right now there's a big amount of people that are buying the buy downs, new construction, renting out rooms, especially in Lake Nona, and they're making like $800 a room. So when you have 4 bedrooms, it's $3,200 a month. So we're getting into those higher numbers. So that's why it's taxed differently as well. But you can also have long-term tenants in single rooms. It does not always have to be short-term. Yes. Yep. 6 months and a day, they are taxed as long-term tenants. Zoning and bylaws. This is huge with rentals and it's always skipped over. Okay. So basically we're going to think of it as like circles. We have our main circle where our house is, that's our HOA. You may have one, you may not. And then you need to be within a city, a town, something. I'm in unincorporated Sanford, so I don't go to the city. I go to the county. All my stuff goes through my county. It doesn't go through the city. Don't ask me why. Orlando has it, a bunch of people have it. If you look at the tax roll and it says unincorporated, that means you always go to the county, not the city. State, so we're getting bigger. All these people that are having oversight on what we're doing. State, so again, the state will tell you, can you do this? Can you do that? Federal has the most power here, right? But it also goes backwards. Once you have the most power, so your federal laws, they then pass it down to the state who says, we're gonna make our own laws, who's gonna pass it down to the county, to the city, and the HOA has their own bylaws. So just as you go up, you can go back down. But huge, especially when you're talking about short-term rentals. Short-term rental zoning, most of it's online. You can always call the town, call the zoning board, the zoning planning, permitting might be able to tell you, but probably not. But always check before you advertise it as a short-term rental or before you buy it as a short-term rental, because there's a lot of agents out there that don't know and they're saying, oh, it's a short-term rental. It's not in an HOA, it's a short-term rental. No. We had a property up in Edgewater, 2 properties on one. It was even in a business zoning department, zoning land next to a post office. You could only rent one of those buildings. You could not rent both. Like if you buy that thinking you can short-term rental both, your strategy just changed and your numbers just changed because you can't do it. So zoning is really, really, really big. Professionals, Orlando City does not. City of Orlando does not. Orange County is very strict on theirs, but the city of Orlando does not allow them. Yes. It's not worth the risk of having code enforcement knock on your door and fine you. Absolutely not. We, as a property manager, got notice when Airbnb was just starting. We had these people that were renting from us, great tenants, no problems ever. I always say in property management, if I don't know your name, it's a really good thing. That's obviously a joke because I get to know everyone, but you have your problem tenants and you're always like, oh God, they're calling again. So when you are talking about Orlando, these people were renting a room on Airbnb right when Airbnb started. And we got notice as the property managers, because we're listed on the tax record, because the owners were having us just manage everything. So all their bills and stuff would come to us. But that's how they found out who was managing it. So they gave us a nasty gram saying, you have 30 days to stop, cease and desist, or we will fine you $1,000 a day. A day! Just for code violation because they were renting a room inside a home that they already had. So That's a version of arbitrage. Doesn't mean you can do it in Orlando. It's the most wild thing.
It makes no sense. The
No.
tourism and the parks, putting money in the economy. Why would you not?
Exactly. And that's one of the biggest fights right now. Yep, exactly. And you got to think, how many hotels are in Orlando? So imagine who's padding the pockets. The hotels are making it so that they keep their money, the owners just get their own. Exactly. So be very careful.
So if it was Orange County, they allow it, but just the city of Orlando.
Depending on where you are in the county. When you have, like, I know you can have a city and then have it city and unincorporated, like Sanford. But it's not the same laws. So you have to really look at Orange County, because I know you can do it in Orange County, but there's certain permits, certain things like the entrance cannot be visible from the street. That's why they have fences around the back of them, a lot of them. There is a get together that we do in Orlando, someone's Airbnb, and they have it, they live in the front and the short term is in the back. So they're allowed to do it, but they had to get permitting. And he's got a white vinyl fence around the property, so you cannot see that entrance. So it's a lot to do. There's a lot of loopholes, but I'm not getting into them because that's not my arena. But yeah, there's loopholes to everything, unfortunately. Fortunately for some people. Professionals that you may need. A realtor. Do you always need a realtor? No. But are we good at what we do? Most of us. Most of us. A property manager. I cannot stress enough. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. Okay. CPA, tax professional. I don't know all the loopholes. I don't know all the tax information. So make sure you have someone that understands your goals, what you're doing, what you need to do. And they'll say, hey, this is a great asset with write-off for depreciation. So this is a great tax benefit. Or they might say, oh, you are way over your limit. The government's coming after you. Don't do it. So they're important. Financial advisor. Again, you want to have someone that knows your goals and how to get there, but you want to talk to someone that's investor friendly, because most of our financial advisors are versed in stocks, bonds, IRAs, all that kind of stuff, hedge funds. But that doesn't mean that it's good for you. Like if you have an individual strategy of, hey, I only want one house a year that I'm bringing on, that's different from me who's going to go grab 10 doors this month, right? So we have to make sure that our financial planner is talking to our tax people, who's talking to us, and we're having, good conversations about what's needed. So because I am a property manager by trade, I'm going to talk about why you need us. That's a long list. That's a long list. Do you know tenant law? It is different in every state. Do you have flipping teams in place? That means someone that you can call in the middle of the night as well, your plumber, your electrician if there's an emergency. Are your teams vetted, reliable, without breaking the bank? Do they have a license? Are they insured? Are they on time? Are they responsible? Are they charging you an arm and a leg, right? We have people that can do it for cheaper. We all know the guy that can do it cheaper. I just put up a picture the other day about ACs hanging from the cords. I was like, I don't think that's going to pass inspection, but someone did it because maybe they did it cheaper. Doesn't make it right. Do you know financials, how to keep the money separate or how to disperse security deposits legally? Okay. When you go into a rental, you pay your deposit, you pay your first month's rent. Your deposit has to go into a separate escrow account. You cannot commingle these funds. You cannot spend someone's escrow money or their deposit money. It has to stay in this separate account. You also need to let them know, as realtors, most of you know, you have to tell them if it's interest bearing, that was hammered into us. Most of them are savings accounts, and you can just say, I don't want to collect the interest on it, because how are you going to split a penny 32 ways or more? So when you're talking about the financials, do you understand that a security deposit letter needs to go out, and it needs to be out within 15 days of move out. 15 days, that means you have 15 days to get your vendors in there to quote what the damages were and how to fix it. Does every damage get covered on security deposits? No. There was a woman on one of our investing pages, and she said, my tenant was burning incense, and it broke the windowsills, and it broke the seals in the windows, and now there's black mold everywhere. Can I file insurance? No, because that's the cost of having a tenant, right? Incense doesn't break window seals. Even if you put the lighter up to the window seal, it's going to shatter the window before it breaks everything, right? So 1 and 1 is not making 2, but she's making a reason to try and get that money, right? Because now she's mad. She didn't realize it. Don't file insurance claims for tenants. Your insurance company will drop you like a hot potato. They don't want that. You need to prove that it was vandalism and malicious to file. You have to have a police report that they came in, they went wild, and they tore the place apart. If not, the insurance company is going to laugh at you. Good luck. That's what's a tenant. It happens. Not everyone lives the same way you do. There's people that are dirtier. There's people that are cleaner, believe it or not. I look at my mom. She's got the cleanest house I know. But some days I walk in and I go, it's one of those days, huh? Exactly. So there are people that live super clean. I have 3 dogs. I vacuum every day and my floors are still not clean. You know, like I try, but it's not as easy. A family is harder to juggle than a single person, right? That's why when you have landlords say, oh, well, we only take single people. Number 1, you can't say that. But number 2, you cannot deny someone based on their family status, right? It's fair housing policies. It goes with buying and it goes with renting. I cannot single someone out because they have children. I cannot single someone out because they're married. Like, you just can't do it. So if you have a 1-bedroom, you're not going to fit 4 people in there, right? Hopefully. Hopefully, we've seen it.
Is that illegal sometimes?
2 heartbeats per room.
Okay.
2 heartbeats per room is generally what I've seen. If you buy a property in Oviedo, this is huge, right? You got UCF right there. You can only have 3 people that are not related per the city statutes. 3 people that are not related in one home because they don't want a ton of roommates. They don't want college kids just going wild in the city. 3 non-related roommates. That's all you can have. So again, we're going to continue with this list, and it says, do you know how to deal with renters who won't leave? You've heard the stories. They're not paying rent, they're not leaving, they're squatting. Does your property manager know what to do? Who do they call? First, they should call a lawyer. Number 1, find out your legal rights. And then you're going to have to go through court. You're going to have to go through an eviction. So it's best to have a lawyer on your side who's doing what's best for you. Okay. Do you like being called in the middle of the night for an emergency? Let me tell you what a tenant's emergency is. My toilet's running. My faucet's leaking. Do not call me at midnight for that. I wouldn't call you at midnight for that. Don't call me at midnight for that. Turn the water off, call me in the morning. If your water is gushing, call me, right? But these little things, my light bulb burned out, the light fixture burned out. That's not an emergency. That's not an emergency. My house is on fire. That's an emergency. I had a home, and when I first started off in property management, my boss, he had like 27 homes, right? And I'm thinking, this guy's doing really good. He gets back from Vegas. I've been holding down the fort, and he says, my flight got in at 2. I got home at 3:30. My phone rang at 4. My house that I had just paid off as one of my rentals caught fire. Not only did it just catch fire, it caught fire because a brand new Corvette in the garage had an electrical problem and caught the house on fire. But the tenant didn't own the car. It was his buddy's car that he was just keeping in the garage. So as a property manager, I get all those calls the next morning and I have to see who's who, right? Because the tenant's not responsible for that car. He is with his renter's insurance, but not the car itself. The guy who owns the car calls me, says, hey, can I come get my car out? I said, it's got axles and one wheel. What would you like? It was gone. The house was gone. Like plumbing melted, electric singed, walls gone, trusses gone. He had just paid the house off the month before. So he said, well, crap, if I knew it was going to burn down, I would have paid off another one. He actually sold the land for twice the amount that he bought it for. So even though it had a singed house, like it still worked out in his benefit, stressfully, but he was able to collect the insurance money for the house and sell the land. That's it. And he had multiple offers within, and this is back in 2017, and he had multiple offers within minutes. My phone would not stop ringing. I started off as the secretary there, moved all the way up. Once you hit the ceiling, you can't go higher, you move out, right? So this is why we say property managers are amazing, but they come with a fee. So my long-term rental fees, I charge between 8 and 10% per month. That means if I'm charging 10% on $1,000 rental, I'm getting $100. 8%, I offer 8% to my clients that have multiple properties, because the lower their management fees, the more properties they can put with me. Can it go lower than that? Sure. I'm deciding what I want to charge them. Not everyone charges the same. I've seen long-term rentals at 14%. To me, that's crazy. But midterm rentals, you're looking at 10 to 15% because the turnover is higher. You have more issues, you have furniture you need to deal with, you have whole house issues with this. Short-term rentals are going to be the highest. They're going to be the highest management fee because they are the highest turnover. Someone needs to go in, someone needs to take pictures, they need to count all the forks, they need to make sure the cleaning is done. And that's 24 hours from when your last person moved in to when the next person comes in. Like there is no time, so you got to be quick.
Like, can I hire you as a rental? Appropriate question, but can I hire you as a property manager and then sell your service to someone else?
Yeah.
For more money, like arbitrage, rental arbitrage?
Yeah.
So I met a guy yesterday, he's paying for short-term rental 28%. He got the call
Woo.
to change the battery in the smoke detector.
Oh, If you're paying 24% and they're not going over to check that battery, woo! I went over and checked batteries when I was in long-term. It won't stop beeping. Okay, let me come look at it. I'm not a handyman. Let me check the battery. Oh, it was just the battery. It's the chirp. Okay, technically, landlords are not supposed to replace that stuff unless they are midterm or short-term. Long-term, told you, you're on your own. Light bulbs, on your own. Long-term, things like batteries, things that need to be charged, like that all is tenant responsibility once they move in on a long-term. Short-term and midterm, you need someone to be able to get there and fix what needs to be fixed quickly. That's why I heard the rates are a little higher as well.
That per stay, short-term 15 to 20% per.
Yeah, it'll come off as per stay. Yeah, per stay. And there's not as many short-term rental places around right now, especially for Florida, which is crazy to me. But if anyone's interested and you want to start doing this, let me know. I'll bring you onto my team and we'll talk about it. So when you talk about property managers, I know I'm doing a bunch on property managers, but if you don't want to be a property manager, you need to know this stuff, right? If you don't want to hire someone, you still need to know the information. So, gosh, why is that popping down? So sorry.
On the midterm, is that per month, 10 to 15%?
Yes, per month. Okay, so marketing, it's kind of not showing up at the top. Marketing your property, analyzing your area, making sure you have the best comps, and we're showing houses to tenants. Okay, that's just marketing. Most of it is done by software. Everyone has their experience with like a Privy or a software that looks up your rent, like rental meter. same thing. It's going to tell you what everyone else is renting for in the area based on the size of the home. When you do your administrative tasks, I don't even know what that is. Sorry. Oops. Okay. So administrative tasks, processing applications, collecting all tenant information, setting up leases, keys, everything needed for you to move in. That's making sure every vendor that I have sent in has done their job. Right before anyone moves in, I go check that property to make sure what I ordered to be done was done. I don't pay any work orders until I double check, right? Because if someone made a mistake, they need to go back. They're not just going to run away with my money. So processing applications sounds super easy, right? It is not. It's a labor because you have to do background checks. You have to do rental checks, call their prior landlord, sometimes 2 prior landlords. And you already know how hard it is to get a hold of a realtor. Try an apartment company. That's even more fun. You have to show up sometimes. Collecting all the tenants' information. Most people are unorganized, right? We all have those days too. But if I ask for social security cards, driver's licenses, pay stubs, blah, 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 those are the basics to get into a rental. So everyone should kind of have them together, but you'd be surprised that most people do not. So you have to chase them. Setting up leases. You cannot set up your own lease. You cannot write your own lease. You are not a lawyer. I am not a lawyer. So we have tenants that will ask us to change something in the lease. The answer is no. I can, however, create an addendum that supersedes the lease, right? So this addendum goes to the lease and says, so say we were going to not take care of pool. And they said, well, if I'm here, I want someone to take care of the pool for me. We've been sitting on this rental, we'll do whatever, just okay. So we're going to write an addendum. Pool care will be covered by the owner. I didn't change the lease, but I put new wording at the end of it. When it comes to leases, there is one for the realtors. Don't use it. Florida Realtor one is so bad. I hate to say it, but there's loopholes in it. There's huge loopholes in it. So get with a property manager that you know and trust, or a real estate attorney. A real estate attorney can draft them up and probably has them on stock, like just to sell as a template, right? Worth its weight in gold not to get screwed at the end. Another piece of that is when you are setting up your leases, make sure you say that late fees are considered additional rent. Don't say they are late fees. Don't use the term late fee. Say, if you do not pay by the 5th, an additional $100 for the first week of rent, an additional $200 for the week, because I can put that on an eviction. I can't put a late fee. When I serve a tenant a late fee or an eviction, I cannot calculate any late fees that it costs me. None. So if you call them additional rent, it's still rent. It's just a matter of wording. So, big one. Maintenance. Make sure you know how a house works. You can go through open houses and just look at them, right? Everyone's been in a house. Everyone should know what to look at, right? We know what we like and what we don't. Some of it's materialistic. Hey, we want to make sure that we have bright white walls and travertine floors. Cool. But that's not for every day, right? Those are people that are buying houses. Tenants don't really care as much, right? But you want to make sure that you are giving them the best maintenance response possible. That is the number one thing I always hear. Well, my landlord didn't come and fix this. Well, my landlord didn't fix this. Number one, did they need to? Was it in your lease? But number two, why didn't you fix it? Like, was there certain things going on? Or did your landlord really just suck? It happens. They don't get the slumlords for no reason. Like, it even has a name. Work orders, making sure you know who to put your work orders out to. Do I need to call a plumber for this gas line, or do I call the gas company? Why would you call a plumber for a gas line? Because that's the only person who can touch it. The gas team can shut it off. Gas companies can shut it off, but the only one that can fix gas lines are plumbers. Yep. Licensed. And if you ever need to look up a license, it is on Florida's database. Okay. This is not just a business license. There's a difference for those that don't know. There's a business license, and then there's a license for like what we do. It's realtors, contractors. They have their own set of licensing. So just because they say they're licensed, they probably mean they have a business license. We did SunBiz, not the same. Your GC has its own license number. Your plumber has their own license number. Make sure that you're looking them up. Make sure they don't have huge lawsuits against them. And then when you're turning a home between tenants, you can have something from paint and flooring to, oh my God, we need to gut the whole house. I've walked into 2 companies that my only job was to fix the dumpster fires. That was it. That's all I had to do was fix the dumpster fires. The first one, the house had not been inspected in 6 years. Years. He was a hoarder to the ceiling, wine bottles and everything. He thought it was the best chandelier he ever made, but he couldn't see it because he had so much stuff in there. So inspections every 6 months to a year. Don't go further than that. You will not like the results. You always want to make sure you do an inspection before you offer a lease renewal, because you see that they pay on time, but what does the house look like? Make sure you have an understanding of what it looks like, what they need. They may never call maintenance in, ever, because they're like, oh, I'll do it myself. And then you walk into the handyman special house. That's a whole different issue. Collecting rent, managing bills and vendors and payments, paying owners, sending out security deposits, posting notice for late rent, dealing with lawyers and evictions. Who wants to do that on the daily? Your property manager. That's who. Because I would not want to do it. Even as someone who does property management, I would never go without a property manager who's not me, because I need someone to be the face of the property. That's not me. I can own the company, but you know, if say Brenda owns a house and they know that she's the owner somehow, try and stay anonymous, honestly, because you don't want them calling you in the middle of the night because the property manager didn't pick up. So she's renting her house. I'm going to go collect the rent. I'm going to go put the notices on. I will take care of it for her because I don't want them bothering her. She's paying me to do my job, you know? So if it was my house, I'd have her go put the notice on. We're partners, but I'm not going to put my face on that house. I just don't want tenants to find me. Anyone who follows me on Facebook, you see my last name is Quackenbush, right? My last name is not Quackenbush anymore. It was for the first 21 years of my life. It is Gribben. The reason I put Quackenbush, number one, I got divorced, but number two, I didn't want my tenants finding me because they would send me messages on Facebook about fixing things. That's not calling the office. I don't know. I don't check my messages every day. I got a ton going on. So their stuff gets missed and then I become the bad landlord. I don't want that. So change my name. It's easy. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys some examples. We're going to do a long-term, a mid-term, and a short-term, right? When I calculate my short terms, I only base it off of a 50% like occupancy. Why? Because things can happen, right? I don't want to say I'm going to be 100% every month because it's not going to happen. It's not. Most rentals for short term in this area are at about 75 to 85% per month, but I'm still going with 50. I'm still going with 50. So if I did all 100 in 1 month, right, I could earn $8,000, but I'm only basing it off of 50 to be safe. Like I said, I'm a big person that will pad numbers so I don't get screwed in the end. So your long-term rates are they're going to be less because it's the same tenant. There's no turnover. We're long-term. So we pay a little less and we don't get as many amenities. We don't get the utilities and everything else. Midterm, we're gonna do 2,600 because, hey, we're only doing a short time. That means my owner is gonna get more taxes. So we need to also say, hey, my utilities are costing me money too, because I provide electric, water, cable, Wi-Fi. So we're gonna have more costs, but we also can charge higher. Short term, if we did 275 a day, that's what I'm seeing in most of these areas roundabout. Some are more, some are less. The basic 3-bedroom is going to go for 275 a night. At 50%, we're doing 4,262. That's 50%. So it sounds great, right? Like, what's the obvious choice there? Short term. But let's go through them all. Long-term rentals, typically a year, paid monthly. The lowest return rate of the 3 rental that we are looking at, 3 rental types. We're taxed at a decreased rate due to the time. I'm going to keep saying that because a lot of people don't know that. It's the time, 6 months and 1 day. Typically not furnished tenants pay all utilities. Pretty straightforward. Midterms, 3 to 6 months, paid monthly or upfront. Can also be paid by a third party, traveling nurses, corporate rentals. You can have a sponsor for your long-term rental, like a company, totally fine, but it's not as prevalent, right? Most companies are getting you in and out, or they're putting you into hotels or long stays, something like that. So to have the midterms, we kind of fit right in between. We have a higher rental rate due to the shorter time frame. Tax is a short-term rental, basic furnishings and household items, right? So they need to bring their suitcase and then they can get their own stuff when they get there. But they have a bed, they have bedding, they've got cable, TV, couches, just hanging out. Yes. In Orlando City.
But are
I have not seen that they go against it. Different places. I don't know the exact one for Orlando, but if you look it up, it will say you cannot do short terms that are less than 2 weeks, but you can do 3 weeks. And they would consider that like,
they bought a house, then in short-term rental, put in HOA issue, and they can get away with midterm rentals.
Mhm.
And don't have to go long-term. So
Yeah.
it's kind of neat, actually. I think it's a great option.
yeah,
Always start with
absolutely. Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. Yep. There's some that are, you have to prove the tenant, there's a whole range of HOAs, ready? Here's an HOA. I don't give a crap what you do. Just make sure your lawn's taken care of. Here's your paint. Go at it. That's mine. That's my HOA. Like 25 houses, nice and small. Everyone keeps to themselves. Oh no, it's like 75 a month, but I don't even want to talk about that. So I'm literally paying for the waterfall or the friggin' fountains. No, my water bill is higher. I'm on the HOA board, so I see what's in there. But okay, so you have the HOA that doesn't really care. You can do what you want. You have the second one that's like, okay, you can have them from this time to this time. You have to have a minimum lease of 6 months. Okay, that's fine. And they just say, as long as you follow those rules, you're okay. Okay, and then there's these guys. We need a credit check, background check. You need to come in for an interview. We need to approve you, and no, you can't do any rentals at all. Not even long-term. Like there was this whole gamut, and that's why it's so important to review HOA docs with owners prior to taking the listing, to taking the management of it. There's so many moving parts to these things. That's why it's so important to have someone that knows what they're doing.
I have a question about the HOA. Okay, so my HOA, they try to make it to where you can't park on the,
Mhm.
whatever, but there is no like guest parking
Right.
within our, so it's like when you have guests come over and I already have 2 cars parked in my driveway, where do they park, right?
Right, on the street.
Right, right. But then we get fined because they say it's in the bylaws of the HOA that this becomes illegal because you signed the bylaws and said you were good with them. And now if you park here, it's $275 fee.
Oh, gosh. No.
Should be a time limit, like for more than 2 hours or more than
Yeah.
5 hours.
And it's literally like when they decide to drive by.
Are you a gated community?
No, it's not.
Is it a public road?
It's a public.
They can't find you.
They can't.
Nope, not legally.
And that's what I said.
I am not a lawyer, but as someone who's in the HOA that faces this problem every day, we get told, call the county police and they'll deal with it. Even though it's in our HOA, in our bylaws, call the police. That's what they tell us. So I would fight that.
Yeah.
If it was me. I'm not a lawyer, seek a lawyer. I have a great one if you need one, but no, it's a no.
They report it, roll out to a master HOA.
Yeah, when they have two HOAs.
Right. Where-
Two.
Lawyer and something.
Yes.
Yeah, HOA, master HOA.
You have-
Lake Mary, the crossings.
Fees.
The crossings are managed by the Bonos, but then they have subsectioned under it, like the crossings, and then I forget some of the names. That's another one. Yeah. So you have these two HOAs. You have to pay both, and you have to abide by both of their rules. One of the DeBerry plantation rules is you can't sell to Open Door. You can't sell to an investor. Yep. Offer pad, Open Door, you can't. Yep. Because think about it, if we buy something at 70%, that just tanked the neighborhood a little bit for 6 months to a year.
Yeah, but what we really know is like. if-
Put it in a land trust.
Right. Say what we really know is investors is that like there was something wrong with that house. That's why it's. So
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Nice, right?
Yep. And most of the appraisers will know that as well. But I do BPOs for the bank. I can't always see inside these other houses when I'm doing appraisals. So, I mean, you kind of have to go by what the outside looks like, and that's not always a great, yeah, because it could look great on the outside and be awful on the inside, or it could look awful on the outside and it's a Taj on the inside. Like, I don't understand, but right.
True, offer that.
Which is
It's
this,
a number, but it's like algorithm. Yeah,
it's an algorithm,
Right.
exactly.
And that's what people don't understand either. That's just
They
an
wanna
initial
show
offer.
Yep.
And then they say, they go
And
out.
they come back and they inspect it and then they come back 20,000.
Yeah. If- If anyone is not familiar with Open Door, Offer Pad, how they work, we're gonna give you the best number possible, right? You're gonna sell to us. We're gonna come in, we're gonna do an inspection, we're gonna kill you $50,000. We're not offering it to you. Most people feel stuck.
Right.
They won't just leave the contract.
And people don't realize you're off that. You only have a certain amount of time. And if you go over that time before you decide that you don't want to go with them, they're gonna charge you 1%.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to pay as a.
or they'll put a lien on the house.
Yes.
Yeah. It's very scary to work with those companies. I know that those kind of companies give us investors who buy for cash. They give us terrible, terrible, like reputations, exactly. Like, we look like we're lowballing people. Well, no, we actually know the value going into the home and what it's gonna need, the right numbers, things like that, compared to OfferPad, who's doing the Zillow thing, and they're going, oh, this house could go for 350. I'll offer them 350, but then I'm gonna give them 300, right? So when we have those people that are doing these things, we look bad. Meanwhile, if we had offered them 300,000 from the beginning and told them why, and we didn't change our numbers in the middle, we are much more reputable.
Right.
You know, we look so much better as investors. So it's really it's a good thing. Yeah.
And then when they came back, I had back to my clients, they came down over $50,000 less.
Hmm.
And it wasn't even for roofs. Like it was for wallpaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
They do outrageous.
Yeah.
And it made me look bad.
Yeah.
Even though I had nothing to do with it and I was fighting it.
Most of those companies, I don't know if you've been watching the MLS, they're popping up that they're not even fixing those houses anymore. They're just putting them straight back on the MLS. They're not following their main model that they did at one point because they bought too much, couldn't sell it, couldn't move it because it had the same paint, the same carpet, the same flooring in every freaking house. Because they buy, right. If you don't know, Zillow had to cut like half its workforce because they're facing some boo-boos from 2020, 2021, 22.
They created that algorithm.
Yep.
They were
So when someone says to you, but Zillow says my house is worth, yeah, because Zillow is an algorithm. Zillow doesn't see inside your house. Zillow doesn't know the upgrades you've made. They're basically running every number in a 1 mile radius and saying, that's what you're worth. See, there you go.
And I had 3 rounds of playoffs in the last 10 months.
Exactly. These companies are going down hard. Yep.
They started dropping clients, like clients who they already reached by their properties. These clients already bought new properties and were waiting to close on each one. And Zillow said, nope, we're not buying your property no more. Here is the deposit, and they dropped them and walked away.
Yep.
And screwed.
It's not the same as it used to be. Yeah, that's not convenient at all for anybody. Mm-mm.
It's their own platform for buyers. 0 convenience fees, 0 contingencies, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm actually a certified agent for it, but it's not paying the bills. so.
Right. There you go. You're part owner when you're in EXP. Yeah. I think LPT is the same way, but I know EXP is. Okay. So short-term rentals, 1 day to 3 month term, paid in advance, typically has a built-in cleaning fee. So when you do the VRBOs, the Airbnbs, they build this information and prices into their prices, right? So when you go to check out, you're like, why the hell am I paying a $300 cleaning fee when it's going to cost them $100 at most to clean it? Like, this is where they make their money, right? Rental rates are per day, can be much higher, right? We're doing it like a hotel would be. We're a much higher rate because the turnover is higher, and we have to make sure we account for those things. Taxed as a short-term rental because it is one. Full furnishings, all utilities, Wi-Fi included, has pizzazz, right? When these people are looking at your homes online, they want the wow factor of what is going to make me stay there. One of the people that I know that does Airbnb specifically and entirely, he says, I always have photo walls. That means a wall that is different in the house so they can go take the pictures, the leaves with the LED signs. Kids my age or my kids' age are thrilled about LED lights. I don't know what it is. It's something shiny, but LED lights everywhere. I did put them on the back of. Right. So you would probably go find a tree house because they have tree houses on there. Super cool. Super cool. I would totally do those things too because they have pizzazz. They have a wow factor of like, this is themed. I'm sure you guys have all seen on Facebook where they do the themed rooms of like Harry Potter and Marvel characters and stuff. Yeah, like that's what I want to go stay in. I want it to be worth what I pay. Oh, when you guys leave when you leave and you look next door, it's a hygienist and spa office. It's got a whole bunch of things to it. I don't know what it is. Each door looks like a house. It looks like a little cottage, but it's just different doors. It's super cute. So I'm definitely taking a picture of that when I leave because how cool. It's on the inside, but it gives a little extra. Like, no, you're
The
fine.
whole entire house is like modeled after like Cinderella's castle.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Everything.
But that's the way they make their money on
I know.
it. Disney, because the parents go, we're going on this big vacation.
We want to make it worth it.
Right. And so I rented the dinosaur house before because my kids were obsessed with dinosaurs.
I love it.
Let's rent this.
That must have been so
It
cool.
was awesome, but it's also expensive AF.
Mhm.
Why did I pay $800 for one day, you know?
Yeah.
But hey.
The big structure.
Right, exactly.
There's a house in, I want to say it's Kissimmee, that is all games, pinball machine, bowling,
Yeah.
mini golf in the back. Like super cool if you're in this area. Can we bring those same models up north? No, because they're not going to see the same tourist rate that we are. So when you buy an Airbnb, make sure it's in a good place that people are getting to, right? You may have this huge house, old Victorian, near a wedding area. What a great way to take that, make it into a B&B. And now those people from the wedding have a place to stay. And it's cute. They're all together. It's quaint. You know, the family vacations that are taken to Florida are the reason why these things exist. Because, you know, we need bigger spaces. You can't fit 16 people in 2 hotel rooms. Like, and then you're paying double. So the whole house is for $400 a night. You know, the big 8-bedroom ones.
Right.
My friends actually rented those before for their family reunion.
Fun, though.
It's
Everybody could be there. Nobody has
it's
to
either
be-
good or bad depending on your family.
You're like, I can't escape.
Right? Exactly. And theirs had like a pool and everything, so it was nifty. Oh yeah. Bachelorette parties, bachelor parties, they rent them all the time. Yep. All right, we got our moving pieces. What a zone to have. All right, so what am I looking at when I'm going in to look at these homes? I'm either buying, I already have them, or I'm looking into the information to see if I'm interested in this property. Who knows what a T12 is? 1, trailing 12. That's the last 12 months of business. A T12, trailing 12 months. This is going to show you your income, your profits, your losses, your expenses. It's going to lay it all out on a sheet. Most people that are running software have it done for them, so they just print it off. There you go, right? But then you have the mom and pops that we're running into right now that are like, I didn't even write it in a notebook. And you're like, oh gosh. But they gave it a $4 million valuation. How? How? Exactly. Make it make sense. So make sure you're looking at T12 profit loss system. Your expenses, your escrow accounts for deposits. If you're buying a portfolio, make sure that all the escrow that they said are in the account as they should be. Otherwise, you always need to make sure that the title company knows that you're closing with, that they need to be there, because we need a tenant estoppel. I think I have it under here somewhere. Yeah, right there. So escrows, we need to make sure the rent rolls are matching, right? We need to make sure the tenants are paying on time. Who's late? Who's always late? Who hasn't paid in 3 months but should be evicted but hasn't been? I wish that's a joke. That's a real thing. Tenant leases. We need to make sure we're reviewing the leases. What's included? What did they pay when they moved in? Were they prorated? What day? If I go up to someone that's a tenant and it's been a long time tenant, you're like, when does your lease end? And you're like, July sometime, I think. Like, okay, it could be the beginning or the end, and that makes a difference as to when rent's collected. Tenant estoppels. This is huge. Most people forget this. A tenant estoppel. It is done by your title company when you have renters, and it has the tenant sign off. This is how much you have paid in. This is how much your rent is per month. This is your deposit that we have on file. And they sign off. They sign off and says, yeah, that's all correct. So that when you go to do the security deposit, they don't say, I had $3,000 in there, not 1,000. Oh no, you signed off that you only had 1,000. We're not playing this game. It's a legal document done by title. Do not skip it. Please don't skip it for yourselves. Like it's a big one. Tenant payment history. Again, we want to know going in, who's a good tenant, who's a bad tenant, who should we move, whose rates should we raise? We have so many under market value that when they're like half of the market value, you know that you're more than likely going to have a vacancy when you raise that rent, right? So now you need to account for the month of flipping it, just like you would for another tenant, but you're going to make more money, but it costs money. You just have to calculate it, right? You want to know. Yes, ma'am. So when we are looking at other documents, when purchasing a property, we want to look at their management agreements. Some management agreements say that they are going to be collecting a commission even if they didn't sell it. Don't ask me why. Some of them say you have to stay with them for the full year until it's over. There's no cancellation. If you cancel, there's a $500 fee per property. Like, these things happen. So when it's the management agreements, if you can get your hands on them, do it.
Who do you ask for that?
That would be the owner, and then the management company if they have one. If they don't have one, you don't need it. Inspection reports. I want to see the last time every unit was inspected. And I want to kind of look at them, right? So we've got a ton of moving pieces so far. And then Again, we've got reports of work in each unit. I want a detailed report in each unit of all the items that have been worked on. Because I don't want someone saying, they haven't fixed my toilet. There's been a plumber 4 times. What do you mean?
What are you shoving down this throat?
Exactly. Oh God. I have to give a list out to tenants before they move in of things not to put in a toilet. I don't know why I have to do that, but I do. Diapers. Someone was flushing diapers. I don't even know how you get a diaper in there.
Right.
I don't know. They were doing it. This is when you are going to buy a property. This is part of your due diligence, yes, and either taking on,
Your contract, I'm looking to see if I want to buy, I'm not gonna give you all these details.
Just-
if you don't have a contract.
exactly, you want to be under contract for them as part of your inspection period, your due diligence period. But I want to know who's got a warranty on their AC, who needs their water heater like redone, how old is that roof that houses all of them? These are all expenses that you want to know. Hey, I'm going to have a major expense in 5 years. How am I going to afford it? Make sure that those numbers work. Leases. This is what you're looking at when it comes to leases. The date of move-in and possible move-out. That means, when does your lease expire? Is there a lease in place? Some tenants are month to month and have never signed a lease. They are some of the hardest to get out. You need to review the rent roll and deposits again. Is anyone in current eviction? If you sell in the middle of an eviction, you could lose it all. Like, you could lose the whole eviction. So always make sure that you are talking to lawyers, see what stage the eviction is in, and go from there. Does everyone pay on time? Again, if someone's 3 days late every month, they probably just have a payroll thing. Like, I'm not gonna be mad at them because I give them a 5-day grace period. I don't understand when companies say you have 1 day. When you have a mortgage, how long do you have? 15 days of grace before they ding you. Some rental companies give you 1 or none. You pay it on the first or you don't. So always make sure you are watching who's paying, how they're paying. And all these reports that I'm talking about should be available to you from a property manager. My favorite tool in property management is called Appfolio, and it tracks all the tenants, all their maintenance, all the inspections, owners' information, everything, so that I don't have to scramble for it. Super user-friendly, little expensive. So if you can manage without it for a little bit, that's okay. But once you get into like 10 units, you're not going to remember everything. So you want a program that will work with you. We want to know who the problem tenants are. Obviously, no one wants a problem tenant. If you don't have to inherit a tenant, I wouldn't. Unless they've been there for like 15 years, they know the rent's going to be raised and they understand, they take care of it. But for the most part, I don't want to keep a tenant that just moved in a year ago, because especially if they've been late. I want to know in advance that I'm going to have a vacancy. Has a lawyer reviewed the leases? Did they come up with their own leases, or are these lawyer done, right? A lot of people don't know that you can only create a lease if you are a lawyer in the state of Florida. So mom and pop, they just drop their own lease, pay this much on this time, good to go. So always review them.
About the times where it's like you're buying a property that maybe like a mother owned and then she's renting out to a kid.
Uh-huh.
There is no lease. It's just,
I would say they need a 30-day notice to leave. I mean, it's not your kid.
right.
I'm not going to let someone else's kid be there, because if you want to have something be appreciated, I know this sounds really like materialistic, but they need to pay for it, right? There are so many people that do not pay for things and they don't respect them because they don't need to pay for them. They don't go to classes because they have no skin in the game. They're like, oh, it's a free class, I'll sign up and I'll never show up. There's no accountability. And that's why you don't want to think of everyone as bad, but you can't trust everyone. And that's a hard lesson. That's a hard lesson in life. I want to trust everyone. I want to be friends with everyone. And then 9 times out of 10, I'm like, I hate people. I am let down by them constantly. I don't hate people. I hate the way people act. So buyers are liars, so are renters. So are renters. Looking inside the units. This is the stuff that we looked at when we were purchasing a single family last time we were together. These are the big things that you want to look at on your walkthrough, same as every other house. If the units need work, or the outside of the building, or how much will each cost to rehab, and in what time frame do they need to be done? When I turn a unit, I have 2 weeks to get all my quotes in because of the security deposit, but then I have 2 extra weeks that I have to get all that done. You have never flipped a house faster than in property management. That's why your teams are so important, because I need to be able to schedule them. It's a grand dance. Who goes in first? Who goes in last? What needs to be done on each, right? It's a big production. But when you have your team in place, you're golden. Show me the money. The numbers will not lie to you. That is one thing that does not lie, is numbers. So when we're looking at income on a rental, we are looking at the monthly rent, late fees or additional rent, parking, laundry, vending machines. You're going to see more of these, the parking, laundry, and vending machines on condos, on multi-units, multi-family units that need, you know, the laundry units that are in everybody's apartment built. Yeah, trash. There's a lot of dumpsters with tenants. I swear they just think everything can go in a dumpster or next to it and someone will pick up after them. I don't understand that. If it doesn't fit in the dumpster, it's not going to get taken care of. So all you tenants out there that do that, stop it. Okay, expenses that you could possibly be facing. Utilities. You have taxes, insurance, maintenance, management fees, advertising, cleaning, mortgage and interest, legal fees. This is just the gist, right? There could be fees that you don't see here that you have to pay every month. Or you may see things here that are for like the cleaning. That's more of like short term. It won't apply to a long term unless it's being flipped. So this is what a profit statement looks like, profit and loss statement for a multifamily. So when we have these bigger units, we have bigger numbers. So I'm going to start over here. Okay, you've got rental income, service charge income. That could be anything from late fees, gross rental income. And then these are the costs of our repairs, maintenance, our expenses. And then we say, okay, if we had sales, this is what it would look like. Gross profit, gross loss. But these are the main ones I want you guys to look at. They're done by month. And they are, you know, you cross them. So you go here to here to here, right? So in January, property insurance was $625. When we have property taxes, they're $416 a month. Rental income, you see how it changes, right? The first month was lower. That could have been that we didn't have a tenant in there full time and it was being flipped. And then we got a tenant in February. So we want to know, why are these numbers different than here? And this is part of your due diligence of what was the change from here to here? What was the change from here to here? And that's why they have these subtotals, so that you can see exactly what we're looking at. So then we have our subtotals of our expenses. Again, in and out, in and out. So these are property sales. We don't need to worry about that part. But they'll go through and say, okay, in order to find how much money you're making, you need to subtract your expenses from your income, right? So here's some more expenses for operating, maybe some that you don't think about. And again, separated by month, separated by column, and everything else. So these go through and they say, okay, if all this information is correct, this is what we're looking at, a 4% gain at the end of the year, right? So that's so much easier to look at than individual documents, bank statements, following the money. Make sure that you have a T12 profit loss income statement. All right, so in general, this is numbers we're gonna use for some math here. We're gonna say the same house for every situation, right? So it's gonna have a $1,200 PITI, $100 in maintenance reserves per month, $1,300. That's gonna be our expenses for everything. That will be the same throughout all three houses, right? All three models will have these numbers. These are all fake numbers, by the way. These are not real numbers. Ew. So I'm going to break down your expenses of what each house will have that the others don't. So long-term, we've got your management fee per month and utilities are paid by tenant. So our total is $170 because our rent was $1,700. So 10% of $1,700, $170. So long-term per month, that's the only expense coming out. Midterm, management fees, utilities, lawn maintenance, right? Now we're up to $860. Oh crap, now our expenses are getting a little bit higher, but don't worry, because we were getting paid $2,600 a month. Okay. Short-term, that's an ow. $1,622. Management fees, utilities, lawn maintenance, and cleaning. Cleaning may be each time, it may not, but for this purpose, we're gonna do it one time. We'll say someone rented out for 6 months or for 6 weeks. Okay, so we have our income, the general expense, which stayed the same across all, and then their specific costs per month. Does this mean it's going to be the same every month? Absolutely not. Probably not ever. But it's a good ballpark, right? Because we don't know all the moving pieces of who's moving in, who's moving out, who's doing what. And if someone doesn't pay rent, uh-oh. So you want to make sure that you can float the boat of PITI if you have no tenant in there. If you cannot, this is not a good thing for you. This is not the way to make money of starting off with a rental. Unless you have a really good cash flow and you know the people that are going to stay there and they're good tenants, right? There's no guarantee about tomorrow. So with our long-term, our income was $1,700, general expenses of $1,300, and our long-term expense, we have a cash flow of $230 if all goes well. Midterm, we have our income, general expenses, midterm expenses, cash flow of $440. Short-term rental income is $4,200, general expenses $1,300, every other expense $1,600, leaves us with a cash flow of $1,340. So that $4,000 got really small. It went to a quarter of it. Meanwhile, we only got $200 in our long-term. So when I say the long-term model is less money, there's a reason, because it is. But if you have a house paid off in cash, long-term's fine. You can switch short-term rentals to long-term eventually. No one says it has to stay what it is. A long-term can become a short-term, a long-term can become a mid, vice versa, right? So as long as the zoning's correct, but you can see the different cash flows going up with the shorter amounts.
What is like a good cash flow for each one? Like, so what, like when you're working with investors, right?
Yeah,
Like, and they're saying, I want a long term, what is it that they're usually looking for? 200 at least?
it depends on the investor. Okay, so with investing, here's the general rule. Someone that is older is taking less of a risk than someone who is younger. Because someone who is younger can take the time to fix the risk, mitigate the risk, and profit longer. Someone who is older that may not be around as long wants a quick in, quick out, give me money. I'm not going to sit on a 30-year mortgage because I'm 90, right? If you're 90 and you're still doing real estate, God bless you. But whew, I feel 90 some days. But you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to have the same goals. So this model may make sense for you. Well, this model makes sense for you. It's about what your goals are, what your financial goals are. If I'm trying to live off of an income of one rental, God help us. But I'm going to go with short term. That's quick money. It's more money, but it's more work. As long as you calculate these things in advance, That's where you make your money. Because if you go in blindly and you're like, I'm making $4,200 a month. No, you're not. No, you're not. Exactly. So,
I've been taught to try to use the 1% rule, so if I'm paying 300,000 for a house, I have to be able to look at, even though I might want a short-term rental it for cash flow, the most cash flow, if my community says I can't short-term rental it anymore, can I rent it out for 3,000 a month?
Mm.
That's the 1% rule.
Yeah.
Or can I sell it and still make money, or do a midterm? And the 1%, I can.
the 1% rule is really hard because it doesn't always work.
It was not.
Yeah. You can see these little cabins that make like $275 a night, and you're like, this wouldn't even be $1,500 a month. I mean, it might now because everything's gone up, but it's just, the same models are not going to work on the same properties, which is why you have to know your investing strategy going in. Know your risk. If you are okay with that risk, if you're okay with the numbers, do it. Do it. The worst mistake you can make is not taking action. If you don't take action, like, you can't blame anyone but yourself. Oh my God, the world's so hard. Well, what did you do to fix it? Like,
Watch TV
Woo.
and sit down.
I played on my phone for 16 hours straight.
Post about it.
Yeah, I made a post. I made one post this week. You guys pat me on the back. No, I have seen agents do that. I posted on Instagram last month. They should be excited about that. Nobody saw it. I guarantee you. It takes,
I get 300 views.
right? It's like 8 posts before one gets seen by someone.
Yeah.
Like, there are some people that we watch, but whew. Okay, we're gonna talk about a multi-unit. We've been dealing with single families. Multi, each unit pays rent, each unit has a tenant, each has its own specific maintenance needs. So it's like having 3 condos as a triplex, right? But they're all under one roof, so you only have to replace 1 roof instead of 3, but it's a lot bigger. So everything is different and has their own stuff. Multifamily may not be separated on water heaters. That means you're paying the water. If there's only 1 water meter, you're paying the water. If the roof is good, is it good for all of them? Is it good for some of them? Have you ever looked at a duplex that may be only owned by 1 owner and it's halfway done on the roof? And you're like, what is going on? If you're buying a villa or a duplex, make sure you own both sides of it.
Yeah, I saw that one time. Part of the roof was old and the other one was new.
Mhm.
Because you couldn't get along with the tenant next door or the owner to change both roofs. They're like, okay, mine looks nice, but then.
Yeah. And guess what happens? Right on that edges, you're going to have leaks. You have leaks. So, and not every person that you live next to is going to be nice, is going to be wanting to help, is going to have the money and the ability to help, right? So things to consider again, water meters and electric meters. If there's only 1 for the house, you can't subdivide it into the tenants, right? Like, okay, I had $300, so you each pay $100. You can set that in the beginning, but you cannot change it, right? So you could say each tenant pays $150 a month for electric or water. You can do that, or you can pay it and just include it in their rent. A lot of ways to do it, but to know what you have to do is the key. Again, make sure that you are watching your budget, because if you now need to add utilities in, that could kill your budget, right? I think my AC runs at like $250 or $300 a month, and I keep it at 78 during the day. I'm like, because I'm not there, I'm out on the road, but still, that's a brand new unit. I got it last year, 2 years ago. Like, the dogs are there, they're watching TV, they're doing their thing.
They're fine.
Meanwhile, the dachshund is buried under all the blankets. I mean,
Yeah, I believe it.
when my kids touch the AC, it's not the same, but my daughter turned it down to 68 the other day, and I was like, did you get a job? What are you paying the electric? Dang. Yes, ma'am.
I've owned rental properties in California, and I'm kind of new to the Florida landscape, but we always did the water and incorporated it in, because you could get a tax lien on your property if the water bills get behind.
Yep.
So is that something there that they do here as well? Like, are you aware of that as a
Yep.
homeowner?
Yep. I have a lien on my flip house for $30 from the water company from 2 owners ago. Do you think I'm paying that? Absolutely not. That's passed on to the next person because I didn't create it. But it does put a stigma on the property. Most people aren't going to care about a $30 lien, right? They're either going to pay it at closing, which we'll do, or we'll just move it on to the next person.
Oh, you don't care that it's all like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I have seen ones, I know, there's been people that have run up bills as renters. And then when the new renters move in, they're like, oh, you have to pay the $280 that's on the account. And they're like, absolutely not. That's not my account. But it sticks with the property. So yeah, it's a good thing to also have them. Again, it's the risk of like, yes, you want to take that risk or no, you don't. I don't want to pay everybody's bill because then they're taking 6-hour showers. Like, I'm not doing that. But someone else might because of the lien issue, because maybe it's not the most high profiting area. So the payments aren't always going to be on time. The lower the income, the lower the rent, the more struggles you have, right? So when you go into a rental and someone's like, you have to make 3 times as much, there's a reason for that. We want to make sure that you have a home, that you can afford your home, you can afford your living, and you can afford everything else. We only want your home budget to take up 30%, and that's still kind of high. But that's why they do the 3 times the monthly rent. Oh, hell no, absolutely not. People were struggling at 3.
Like, how do you even get people?
I had someone at like 2.9%. I was like, it's fine. It's cheaper to buy.
People still require like a 650 credit score to get into rentals. And I'm like.
Yeah,
just
you can get a mortgage at 580.
Yeah.
580 credit.
So you get into rentals at 650 and paying 4 times. You have to have 4 times
Yeah.
income. I'm like, look, I've had helps people with rentals and they'll have to like have their mother move in with them. So
Mhm.
they have enough income to be able to get into it.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Yep. I've had to finagle a few things to make numbers work. And, you know, you also, when you're in that space, they're like, oh, you have a child that's 16, but you get child support. Well, in 2 years, you're not going to have that. So if you're planning on being here for 2 years, how do you plan on supplementing that income? It just depends on the landlord. It depends on the company. It depends on the person. You know, I like to drive by tenants' houses that they're currently in before I put them in one of mine. Because if they have trash all in the yard, I don't want them in my rental. If they can't, you know, cut the lawn, like basic maintenance kind of stuff. I want to know that my property is being taken care of, my investments being taken care of. So I want the best people in there. Might take a little bit more time to get someone in, but I'm okay with that because then they last for a long time. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So again, more moving pieces. And this is what the multifamily will look like. So this is actually based off of a property that I'm underwriting right now because I just happened to do the Excel sheet the night before. I did this myself because it was a mom and pop that does not do paperwork. They don't have statements. So here we are, we're looking at buildings, right? So each building has a unit. Each building has a unit. This is a single family. This is 3 units, right? So this is how much we're making monthly, hopefully. Yearly, 105,000. That then needs to get your expenses taken out, right? So this is based on a year, because that's all the information they gave me. So I put all the information in, and then I'm going to divide it by 12 and say, okay, average each month is what I'm paying out. So then I can take monthly to monthly, I can take yearly to yearly, but I can at least see. He didn't have one. He paid for the property in cash. He owns it outright. That's the only reason you don't see it. So again, moving pieces. Does he have a mortgage? Luckily, this guy didn't. He wants to sell on seller finance. If anyone wants to buy in New York. I got tons of them. I got one in DeBerry coming up. I actually had just signed the contract, so that's a good thing. Seller finance, sub 2 on that one. But yearly, this is what we're looking at. So we're looking at 31,000. So monthly, we're looking at about $2,000, which is still just a fraction of the income that we should be bringing in. So I'm gonna break it down a little bit more. Have you heard of sub 2 before? And you heard of creative financing? Okay, so
You're talking about bringing more money in, I'm saying.
absolutely. I have multi-family mobile home parks right now that are doing seller finance. Yeah.
On the Facebook.
That's right. I try and invite everyone. I'm like, you guys, this is free. I'm giving you so much information for free. And I help find deals, right? Like Linda has a huge deal. I thought about buying it myself, but I also know that I can go pitch it to someone else because it's a steal. There's a 17-acre land in Titusville. I could have someone steal that right now because it's shovel ready. It's shovel ready, but you got to go to a big developer for that kind of stuff. But it's shovel ready. Absolutely. So monthly with our numbers, we're looking at 8,800 in income. Expenses, again, what I kind of averaged out, 2,600. So you should be cash flowing at 6,100 a month based on these numbers. Yearly, that's going to be $74,000. Much more money in multifamily. But there's more pieces. There's more units. There's more work, right?
So you are counting here also for property management? Or you're gonna?
Yes. Yeah, I think management was already in that one. I believe so. Yeah, on the expenses. So this is where we're looking at, how much are we potentially going to make? Yeah. So, and there's no mortgage. There's no mortgage in that. So if you have a mortgage, that might now be 35,000.
This correct, I think that I read it basically says that a person that owns multifamily or commercial are more likely to be open to seller finance.
Yes.
Person that owns stable.
Think about it. When you have a property over $1 million, what do you need? A jumbo loan. Most conventional loans are not that high. Yeah. So you have to know someone that will do a jumbo loan, and then the prices are higher, the interest is higher, closing costs are higher. So when you don't have those numbers and you don't have to go through that whole loop and you can just do seller finance, they're the bank. Even if you take it over sub 2 with seller finance, they're still the bank and you're not dealing with going through all that stuff. Your closing costs just went from 6% to 1%. Yeah, and it exactly. You do not have to take all your taxes at once like you would on a full sale. There's so many tax benefits to it. Again, that's why a CPA is so good. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the best thing you can do. Yeah, because you have a lot less problems there too. Like we have properties that we can go scour. Absolutely. Anything over 4 units in multifamily is considered commercial. So 5 units or more, commercial. And that is because when you have a 4 unit, say you have a quad, you can buy it with FHA, you can buy it with VA, you can buy it with conventional, cash, all these things. Once you hit 5 units, it all changes. It's more money. Commercials, yes. So now you've gone from easy paperwork and minimal stuff, 3% down, if you live there, to, oh crap, now we can't put like anything small down because we aren't living there. And they wouldn't care if we lived there at 5 units because it's over the 4 unit rule. When you look at zoning, especially if you have access to IMAP, I love IMAP, that's my favorite resource. But they will tell you exactly what it is there. Is it zoned 5 units or more? And then they have 10 units or more, and they have, I think it's 10 plus. I don't think they have a 20 plus. They have a 10 plus. If you can manipulate IMAP, you can find anything because they have foreclosure searches right there. They have the resources of connecting you to the property appraiser. They have your taxes, your zoning, your square footage, your lot square footage. So the lots are very hard to find on, like Seminole County. If you pull up the tax record, they're not gonna tell you your lot size. It's the biggest pain in my butt. But that's why I have IMAP and Seminole County up at the same time. Cross-referencing, making sure it's matching up. Yes, it is. And you click on it, it will tell you the owner's mailing address, if it's not the house, if the house is homesteaded, their taxes. Sometimes, they're never right. Yeah, skip tracing is a whole job in itself. I found some of like the nosiest moms on Facebook and I hit them up and said, how would you like to go find these people? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And that's cheap labor. Because they want something to do, but they're nosy, so now they can go use a skill.
They feel like they're a part of it.
Yeah, now they got a job. Looks like sunshine, flowers, right? Everyone wants a really nice check with no stress.
Yeah.
No stress. Everybody wants that. Best of luck. The things that we did not budget for that you did not see. Rehab, re-rent costs. This means for a property management company, you may be paying 50% of 1 month's rent to re-rent it. You may pay a full month of rent to re-rent it because that includes all your advertising, your marketing, and getting it, and the cost of re-renting it and running applications. It's all how it's set up in your management agreement. Lack of rent. None of us are able to tell the future. So we don't know if Steve's going to lose his job next week and can't pay rent. We just don't know. Large maintenance items. You suddenly need a roof. Crap. Hurricane came through. You got to pay hurricane deductible to get fixed. Hurricane deductibles, I'm going to give you a secret. Okay. Because of my mom. You can call your insurance company and ask for a $500 hurricane deductible. You don't have to do 3%. I spent an extra $10 a month to go from 4% of my hurricane deductible to having it be 500 by just paying $10 extra a month. Heck yeah. Even if I never need to use it, I don't want to be screwed during the hurricane when I just spent $300 in food for the goblins that live in my house. Like, all that's going to be gone in money and food. So I don't want to pay $4,000 to fix my house when it's just obliterated, right? If the hurricane comes through and screws you over. So if you have hurricane insurance, call your insurance company and see if you can get a $500 deductible. May not happen on investment properties, but on homesteads, you can definitely do it. Just depends on your mortgage broker. So again, talk to Jody. She's one of our sponsors today. And then you guys all have stuff in front of you as well to talk with her. So what would you do? Aren't these pretty? Let me tell you about my work. Okay, I don't know what happened to this one. I don't know where it is, but I'm gonna walk you through this. This was a house that looked like drug addicts lived in it. There were things everywhere, like papers thrown. I walked in and out of that house so quick. I have never walked in and out faster. This is a house that they had to get evicted. They left all this trash in the back because guess what else they left? A pig. Bathtub, they didn't want to empty it because it was leaking. So they just let it leak into the tub and they just kept the water in there instead of opening the drain. Totally ruined now. Do you see that window? Do you see that it looks like it's oozing stuff? Because they used foam to just keep it in. I don't know what that was. This house was so disgusting. I walked in and roaches fell from the ceiling. I called the exterminator and I said, I'm not going in there until you get in there. And they were grossed out. If the exterminator's grossed out, okay. Again, another just left behind scenario. This is common. This is more common than you know. Isn't that scary? Oh, I'm missing a picture. Oops. Sorry, I missed the picture, guys. Yeah. Check this out. That's right in Sanford. They just threw everything to the corner. But what you see here is the inside. This, you can't see it here, but you can online. It's all wet because there's a hole in the ceiling up top there. That's all mold. and it's all water coming through the ceiling. Same house. How do you explain that to an owner? They just had a hole. Well, how the hell did the hole get there? I don't know, probably a tree. Yeah, handyman special. We fixed the door case with Bondo, at least 6 layers, instead of just getting a new door. This is the inside of the house that's spewing things. We stopped from opening this door by using duct tape. Don't ask me why. Duct tape fixes everything. This floor, I don't know if you can see this line, down 2 inches, the house sunk. The house sunk and people were living in it. And I didn't believe them at first. I was like, how can this house sink? They just fixed it, fully remodeled. They didn't address the underneath. Foundation sunk. They couldn't sell it. $6,000 minimum to raise it. Yep, just to raise it. This is Peanut. Meet Peanut. This is the pig from the house. You can see the trash in the back. This thing weighs 350 pounds. This thing is a monster. So part of my job then became an animal rescuer, because I'm not just going to leave an animal helpless in a backyard, like not ever. So I put out reaching on Facebook. I said, if anybody knows a sanctuary, please call me. I went into different groups. I had this really nice lady call me and she says, I'll take him. They had to get a ramp and they had to coax him with food to get him into the back of the truck. And this was him when they finally got him. About 3 weeks ago, the new owner, the woman who rescued him, sent me a picture and said, I kept him. I was like, I didn't even know she still had my number. She sends me a picture. She's like, he's doing great. He's got a best friend, this little girl pig, and they hang out all the time. He looks so happy now too. It's the best thing ever, right? Right? This is the best thing ever. Like happy endings, happy things, right? Okay, here's the reality of COVID. All politics aside, Wuhan made it. Anyways, illness aside, real estate did crazy things that no one could have predicted. Sales soared while rentals became a massive issue. The memorandum that was in place was extended multiple times and it made it so you could not evict anyone for any reason. None. It did not matter that you didn't pay rent for a year. Good for you. You can pay it back when you're done. Oh, you don't have the money? That's too bad. The owner's gonna have to deal with it. Okay. So owners weren't getting paid. They couldn't afford their mortgages. Guess how many of those mortgages are about to go into foreclosure now? A lot. So when we look for the tired landlords as a search feature, there's a good reason. Oops, sorry. California.
Gave up her rent. She was renting a home because she has a duplex, so she could rent it out for more money than she was paying rent for.
Yeah.
But then COVID hit and her tenant stopped paying her.
Mhm.
She had to fill out the forms herself for the whole rent thing
Yep.
with the owner. And now she's evicted him and she had to give up her home because in California, it takes a minimum of 6 months. And she couldn't afford to pay her own rent. She's going to live in Boston with her sister. It's like a terrible story, right?
That's pretty bad when Boston's cheaper.
Yeah. But in
Boston's expensive
California,
too.
you know,
Right.
everything's
true.
cheap. It's like-
So it screwed a lot of people. Like it wasn't just the people that got sick. It's this domino effect because I had to prove, and this is when I stopped property management for a year. I was exhausted. I did not stop during COVID. I was still doing everything that I had done before. The only difference was I had taken on a dumpster fire of a company who literally I worked for 4 weeks and COVID hit. So I had to work from home on these files that I didn't have with people that weren't there. So it was rough, right? But the good thing, well, the bad thing was when COVID hit, the broker decides he doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. I'm still an agent at this point. So I'm like, where the hell is my license going? Like, so scary. And then we ended up going with a new group who had another dumpster fire. So I had to fix that one too. But the property manager that I took over at the first place, we fired him because he stole $10,000. And they didn't tell any of the owners. They didn't even call the police on him.
What?
Nothing. So fast forward 4 months when we get into the new brokerage, the property manager for them, is the same guy that I've already fired. that stole the money. So I said to them, I said, count your security deposits before we let him know that he's being fired. He already had 5,000 in 4 months. Be careful. Never, 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 never. Yeah. Yeah, but this stuff happens, so you have to be careful. Make sure your property manager is a licensed agent as well. But it happens, and it's scary. A lot of the things I dealt with were people that cannot pay their rent. So I have to hear every sad story that comes to me of why they can't pay their rent. My heart's breaking because these are families. These are families and children and parents that are struggling. So I have to play therapist to these people. And I got to call the owner and say, you're not getting paid this month. Sorry. And they're, why aren't you getting money? I can't. I cannot legally do anything. I have to just let it go. I have to wait. Just calculate it, calculate it. The minute the memorandum was lifted, I had to evict 2 people. First set was Peanut's family. Good, because they just left him there. Okay. Still felt bad because they were, just not an older couple. They were like in their 50s. They'd worked the whole time, but decided not to pay rent. And there was nothing we could do about it. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever. I'm gonna not pay rent or mortgage.
Exactly. Exactly. So then this was my hardest rental. This was one of the last rentals that I did. This was in Apopka. So super sad. Sorry about it. Tenants were out of work, couldn't afford the rent. Husband commits suicide in the house. Not only does he commit suicide in the house, the family cannot afford it. So wife and daughters left and left everything, like everything, including a car. They left a Mini Cooper in the driveway and said, get rid of it. We don't care. So sad. And then this is what I walk into. I got to figure out how to clean this thing out. I remember what the other picture was that didn't show. It was a Ouija board in that house. That's a hard no, get that thing out first thing. Absolutely not. I know it's a game. I know some people don't believe in that stuff. I do. It's a no for me. No, it's not a game. It's a demon portal. All right, so I think the next one's going to be a video, and it's going to be super fast because it was the first video I ever made. You're welcome. But you're going to see the before and the after. Hopefully. Right, so we've got, usually it's down, but I can't turn it on right now. So like you can just see piles of trash, everything, everywhere. Dust, dirt. They had a Great Dane. Great Dane runs away. Same day suicide happens. Coincidence? No. Yeah, they know exactly what's going on. So I didn't have a stabilizer, so I was just like running through the house, and that's why it's like this, just trying to show all the details. Okay, so now after working, this is all the stuff that we put into it. Big difference. They put washer and dryer in. I don't know why, but they did. Great people to work with. But you can see the house is cleaned up. It's got new flooring. It's got new paint. All the damages have been fixed. The owners had an emotional attachment to this house because they got married in this house. They moved out to Ohio. They kept the house, and this is what they got back in it. So he was flying back and forth because he wanted to be involved in the rehab process. Nice, fine, and dandy, totally cool, but he picked out like 6 different colors in the house. I was like, one color. You can see he did not choose just one color, but he got charged extra for it. He put a design in the floor with laminate, which I never would have done because it's extra. And it's literally looking extra in a house that didn't need it. And it was done in vinyl. So it wasn't the best looking, but it's what he wanted. Most owners, I would have said, run plank like this, paint it agreeable gray, because that's everyone's favorite paint, trim white. If you don't know about agreeable gray, it's one of the top selling colors because in one light it's gray and another light it's tan. It's like a shape shifting color. I have it in my daughter's room. I had a whole bunch left over and I was like, go paint your room. And she was like, okay. So agreeable gray is the most used one, and he did there. Every person who invests in well-selected real estate in a growing section of prosperous community adopts the surest and safest method of becoming independent. For real estate, the basis of wealth. I was a president talking about real estate. Who's heard the phrase, buy land, they're not making it anymore? That's important, right? Because you have to buy the land, but then you also get the air rights. You get the mineral rights if you have any. You never know what you're sitting on. 20 years down the road, that $5,000 plot, now $105,000. And all you did was sit on it. You cannot buy raw land with traditional financing. They will not approve it because you can walk on it. If I don't put any money down, I just buy the land and I don't put a shovel to it. I don't clear it. I don't do anything. I can just be like, I paid $5,000. Screw it. I'm walking away. I don't want to pay taxes anymore. I don't want to deal with this. There's a lot of people going through probate that have land that's just sitting there. New Smyrna, you can get 5 acres for $10,000. It's in the boonies, but you can do it because eventually it's going to build up, right? Yeah, absolutely. So when you have the land, you can't get traditional financing, but you can do seller financing. But if you want to have financing on your property, it needs to be shovel ready, which means you are ready to build on it. It's got the permits, it's got the land, it's graded, it's level, it's ready to go and build. You can get financing on that because now you're buying it to put a property on. You can get a new loan for a brand new construction. Totally cool. So if you buy land while it's cheap in a place that you want, maybe when you retire, you can do so much with it. See, land has so many purposes, and some of it you don't need to clear all the trees out. Like in Maine, there are hunters, fishers, like that's what they do. You don't need to clear land for them. They want the trees. Exactly. Put a cabin on it, call it a hunting cabin, rent it out. Snow, you can have snowmobiles, summer ATVs. You can do everything. Yep. We looked. Oh, we've been looking. Unicorn agents wanted. That means I want people that are going to focus on investment. I want agents that are doing dispositions and acquisitions of properties. I want to teach you guys how to build within the income and investment system, because a regular retail buyer will come to you one time in like 5 years, right? They don't even remember your name or your face.
They usually go to another.
And they go to someone else. And then you're like, wasn't I good? Like, why wasn't I good enough for you? Investors are buying at least once a year. Some of them are buying multiple times a year. Some of them are buying multiple times a month. Repeat business will keep you afloat. Repeat business is huge. So if you are interested in that and you're not already on my team, I am hiring. And then this is our mailing list. So this code gets you signed up for deals that come out, the sub-2, the seller finances, creative financing, wholesales. This is the list that I use. So if you want first access, that's how you get it. I send it out to my VIPs before it hits social media or anything. I know it's a little rough. If you guys need it, I can send it out. But when I do my properties, they're on a private list because I do purchase on market properties. And I don't necessarily want the agent to know that I'm wholesaling it right away, right? There's ways around it. So if I do it as a private VIP list, she can't see it. They can't see it, right? I mean, that's just how we had to do it. I got nailed one time with Orlando because the wholesaler I was working with in the beginning stole the agent's photos. That's a $1,000 fine. I didn't know and I put it up. Guess who got hit with a fine? He got hit with double the fine, so I didn't feel as bad, but it just should never have happened. So make sure you're wholesaling with reputable people. And then I'm not going to be doing a class for July because I want you guys to enjoy 4th of July and go do fun things. I'm going to be putting more information up like on our, I might do a virtual thing one night, but no class like this. But I really appreciate you guys coming, and do you guys have any questions or anything?
Yeah.
Yes,
And so you have Facebook page for Imaging Investment.
yes.
Can you talk about that, please?
Yes, so Imogen Investments, we are funding deals. We're funding EMDs for wholesalers that are getting into the game. We are partnering with them to make their deals work. So if you came to me and said, Amanda, I have someone that wants to sell on seller finance, and I was like, great, what are their terms? And you're like, I don't know. I'm a partner that I can call them and say, hey, I'm working with Rosa, she's my partner. And she said that you were interested in seller finance. Tell me about your needs. Tell me about what you want, right? So this is going to give me an idea of down payment on terms, how long they need it for. My mom will tell you that I make sure that my cash deals flow. I had a gentleman on the phone that tried to tell me that he wanted 35% down, 7% interest, and he wanted 3 times the valuation for it. And I'm talking to him, I'm trying to talk numbers with him, and I'm trying to say, what if we did 10% down and whatnot? He's like, well, I need a balloon in 3 years. I said, balloons are for clowns, we're not doing balloons. And he was like, well, he wants one. I was like, well, fine, then we'll do that. And he says, I want one in 3 years. I said, it doesn't make sense. It's not going to reevaluate for it. And he says, well, that's what he wants. I said, I'm glad to know that your customer is not interested in selling. I'll let my buyer know. I hung up. And then he texted me, let me talk to the seller. Oh, okay. If you tell them that they're not ready or I'm not the buyer for you, most agents are gonna be like, why? What happened? Like, well, because it doesn't fit my terms. And if they're sitting on the market for 200 days, like, what are you waiting for? But some of those are the best seller finance ones or sub 2 ones because they're sitting because they don't have enough equity in the house to move it, right? So if you bought in 2021, you don't have enough equity to sell in 2023 for the most part. Yeah, yeah. You can take over their low interest rate, but they're not going to make enough money selling their house on the retail market that they can afford everybody's fees and not come to the table with cash, especially those who paid $50K over appraisal. They're hurting now if they need to move. And I've seen so many that are like, I need to move, I need to move, I need to move, but I can't afford it. Well, why? Because I'm stuck in this mortgage. That's when our subject twos come and help out. We get you out of that mortgage. My friend, I went to college with him. He lives in DeBerry. He's selling his house, seller finance sub 2. It's got panels on it. He's only been in it for a year, but he got a new job. So he can't sell, pay me, pay the other agent, pay the closing costs, and move. He'll be out 20 grand. So I offered him 10,000. I said, I'll take over. We'll put 30,000 in seller financing. I'll give you 10,000 up front to walk away. He said, great, when can we move? Cool, that was easy, right? Not all those deals are that easy, trust me. Trust me. We find the motivator. The pain point, the bunnies, whatever they call it, you know, the bunnies. Oh, absolutely. He forgot to file homestead on his taxes. So his rate went from 1,700 to 2,400 a month. And I had put it out at 1,700 a month because we started this back in April. And then he's like, my taxes went up. And I was like, how much? $400. Okay. All right. So now I have to restructure this loan to make it make sense because now a short-term rental that would have been cash flowing $3,000 a month is now down to $2,000. I have to be able to tell my buyer, these are the numbers that you're taking over. He did not give me the mortgage. He didn't give me the mortgage paperwork. That's my fault. You know, that's like one of the first ones I did. And I forgot to ask him for his mortgage. How? I don't know. I was excited.
You want to help us find deals.
Yep.
You want to help us negotiate deals.
Yep.
And fund the deal.
So like,
I'm a one-stop shop.
no, but, and I'm not saying this to be a jerk, but what's to make you just not take the deal for yourself?
Because I'm not like that. I'm ethical.
You don't want to help people.
Because I genuinely want to help people.
That's great. So like, what's the trade-off? Will he split it with you? Is that it?
Yeah, there's a JV cost to it depending on what we agree upon. If the numbers make sense, then they make sense.
I always say that, because some people like, hey, Steph, pays mortgage.
Yep.
But even to join him, $9,000. How about you help me close a few deals and I'll give you $20,000.
Exactly.
You know, so they all steal.
Absolutely. No, I paid $7,000 for Grant Cardone's company. Guess what I got? Zero. I went to a marketing thing, which was great. I learned a lot about marketing. That's why I'm here.
Nobody wants to do that. You want to do that? Yeah.
That's where I'm gonna make my money.
I'll be at your door next week.
There you go. Absolutely.
Right.
You got more people coming for you, more people working for
Yeah,
you.
but it's like,
more people
I email you when I get home tonight, Amanda, I really want my first deal.
Yeah.
Just start getting into this.
Yeah.
You're just gonna hand me a deal, say, let's go?
I'm gonna say, what are you into?
Why would I split it with me? That's like,
Because think about this.
Do you?
well, I don't know, I'm a realtor, that's always shitty.
But look at it this way. Wait a second. Okay. I'm a realtor.
I'm excited.
I specialize in something.
Simple, and I'm from Brooklyn, like, everybody's out there F me.
Right.
That's the way I see
New
it.
York.
Yes.
Right.
I'm from New England. I get it. But so I'm here to help because I want to help. Cassandra, when she got her license 5 years ago, I was the first person that mentored her. She went to different companies. Guess who she's back with now? Because I'm not out there to charge in the beginning. When I have a new agent, Bernice is one of my new agents. In the beginning, first 3 sales, I walk you through the whole thing. Me, I do it. I'm your broker. I'm going to help you. I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to offer opportunities because when you guys do your work, it helps me, right? Because I still get commission. So when Bernice sells her first 3 houses, it's a 50-50 split because I'm using my time and my energy, but I don't succeed if she doesn't succeed. So why would I not be the best person I can be to help her? Because that's going to help my pocket. Because now she's a runner going to look for deals on her own. I just teach her how to fish. Give a man a fish, give a man a fish. I'm a teacher fisher teacher.
You go for a long-term rental, short-term.
Do you want money fast or what do you want? Then I would start looking into getting them via seller finance or sub 2. That whole group has a whole bunch of them. And then I sent out lists this week. I didn't ask them for anything. I said, hey, I got a list. Who wants to work it? What better way than for me to just provide information and they run with it? Wholesale
Could be like,
Wholesale is oversaturated. It's oversaturated, but it's quick money. But not in land, right? So if you have like, I want to do short-term rentals, I want to do it here, I want to do it here, I already know the spots that I want to be, we can start focusing in. Okay, do you want a single house? Do you want something with 2 properties? Do you want just land that you can rent out for someone to park their RV during the winter? It's all about what you're looking for specifically. Perfect.
Near Disney, the Davenport, Kissimmee.
Kissimmee is going to be your best bet. Yep. Think about it this way, though.
Main City.
Think about it this way and check with your broker if they'll allow you. If you buy new construction, well, that's true. But I'm saying, think about it this way. If you are buying new construction, you're a realtor, you can put your commission towards it. You can also take the bonuses that they give you and put that towards it. Now you can rent that out as a single family home. You could rent it out by the week. You could rent it out by the door. You could rent it out by the bedroom. We've talked about sober living, $800 a bed. I wouldn't do it because they need a manager, but there are people that run them out here, especially in Florida. A lot of people come from, it's, see?
well, this would be the pill mill.
The pill mills originally, yeah. But now it's like bath salts and meth, I don't know. So there's these people that need help, but we can be the resource to help them. If you want to focus on short-term, like doing those kinds of rehab houses, call the centers that are near you and say, hey, are you buying homes? Oh my God, yes, we are. We need homes that are 8 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms, and we're willing to pay up to this amount. Okay, you go on MLS. What can I find? What can I negotiate to fit that buy box to make sure that I can get them the deal?
A human services agency.
Yeah, 211. 211 in Florida. That's your information line. Free information. They'll connect you. But there's all different ways. So you have to think about what does your end strategy look like? Like, can you float right now with a W-2 or a 1099 and the rental? Like, if you're able to, do it. Because there's resources that you can do Airbnbs and then build them. You can get these properties that are not in HOAs, which then takes a whole nother level out of it that you don't need to worry about. And you only worry about the state and the county and the city. So if you want something near Disney, I would do within a 20-mile radius. I would make sure that it's not in Orlando, and look into the Osceolas, Lake County. Huge. Lake County right now, Claremont, huge. I thought Winter Garden was going to be bigger, but Claremont is way bigger. So Claremont is a great resource because you're right near 429 to pop on and go to Disney in the back way. So Kissimmee, you're going to have a lot of traffic. If like, I hate Kissimmee, it takes forever. But if you have a property in Kissimmee where a lot of Airbnbs are, you're going to have to compete with them. What makes you stand out? So if you're over somewhere near a college, you might get even more, because what about the parents that come on the weekends that want to visit their kids, but they don't want to pay for a hotel? Like, they want an experience. You just need to think about where the money is, what the requirements are, and what your strategy is going to be. So if you're looking for Airbnbs, I would start with MLS, honestly, because your commission can go towards your down payment towards them. You know, you can work your money. Absolutely. That's the goal. Yeah.
Okay, so, correct.
JV.
My JV girl right there.
Yeah.
I'm the JV, she's varsity.
Always varsity.
But, so ML, we want to try to keep the agents out of it. We want to go to homes, because the agents want and deserve to get paid.
Door knock.
So we got.
Listen, I understand. You can cold call. You can definitely cold call if you can find the numbers. Then you become a skip tracer, or you hire a skip tracer. Like I told you, the FBI Facebook moms, watch them. They will find anybody and their phone number in 10 minutes. They are not playing around. I'm serious. So when you find these people, you could say, okay, off-market properties, because then we don't have to deal with agents.
Not a specific property, and I cannot find the number, I would go.
Right, right.
But I'm not gonna go knock.
Right.
Down the block.
No, but just like
I'm not
every
that
other
guy
house,
selling Bibles.
you already have, every other house, you already have a door hanger in your car and you just hang it on that door.
Yep.
And then you-
We hit full, we go around to full neighborhoods.
For a specific house that hit, yeah. would do
Yeah.
that.
I hit the whole
It'll
neighborhood.
take 5 minutes.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
We do
In
neighborhoods.
your car, you drive by, oh, look, that's one, boom.
Yep.
It's real quick.
I agree.
Yep. Always make sure you're also looking at signs that say no trespassing, no soliciting. You don't need to get shot. And this is Florida. This is stand your ground state. So I will not go door knocking by myself. I will go with another person because it's safer. But I don't knock specifically on a door unless I know that they have a reason. But I will canvass and farm that neighborhood all day long. We got 1,000 door hangers in our car. We are just everywhere. Our flip house is in a neighborhood that's being turned over. So we're gonna go we buy houses for cash sales.
Yeah.
That is the easiest way to get real estate.
Yeah.
Bandit signs. Who would have known? Bandit signs. You see them everywhere now, but when you go into these neighborhoods that are kind of like, oh, you're turning over, or you need some work, you can put those signs out, and sometimes you can link them to websites that are like auto AI, and they get to learn all this stuff, and you get all their information. But if you go onto our Imagine Investments page, there's actually a spot that says buy my home. You give me your information, I give you an offer. You may not like it, but I can. But
Shit, it's like, listing agent. So I booked a tour today from 1 o'clock for a client, instantly improved on showing time. And, but the instructors say text listing.
Mhm.
8 o'clock I text. Well, I just text her again right now.
Yep.
Before I go to you. now she responds. to
Yeah, like, hello,
Take it off the mark, like, hello, like.
I had an
I was
actual,
doing listings, I'd be on top of my
But
game.
see, and that's the problem, like the owners should know that it
Exactly.
took her
Yeah.
6 hours to get back to
and unfortunately, we can't always tell them that. No,
you. I'm not saying.
but sometimes it's deserved,
It's deserved 100%.
you know?
Stellar.
Oh, yeah.
They can suck.
You know what applies to financing deals and analysts?
Yes.
And search, it's the criteria.
Yeah, it's a criteria you would use. I put in, and this is for people that are listening because they're gonna steal my ideas, but there's lease options, other financing, special financing. There's a whole section of that. Click all those options. Lease for purchase, click all those options and call the listing agents. Good luck calling the listing agents, but call those listing agents. Go by county, start by county. Seminole had like 34 properties that could be seller financed, right on MLS. One's $1 million property in Heathrow.
But still, listing agents, and they all want some type of big down payment. You gotta find the ones that have less than like 20% equity, right? That's
I
what
think
we're
that's what she does say, when she's her negotiation skills, I would say.
Yeah,
So if you have to
like
bring
you
them
just
down
order
from
the
that
property.
cloud that they are.
yeah, I'd say it's a,
Why split the first three? I'll split them all.
it's just like this. It's like, okay, when you have the teeter totter of it, if I'm gonna do a high purchase price, I want a low down payment. If you want a high down payment, I gotta change it in purchase price. It's a seesaw, give and take. Seesaw. And you have to say to them, call them on the carpet. This deal will not cash flow. Why are you selling it like this? This is why I'm trying to give you seller finance so that I can afford it. Your seller can make twice as much money or whatever. Whenever I do a seller financing offer, there's a website called mortgagecalculator.org. It's free. I put in all the information and I send that little graphic of how much money they will make in the end based on interest. And I say, this is what you will actually make. Yep. I'm offering on a $600,000 property when I'm done, when all the payments are made in the 40-year term, he'll make over $1 million. Like, that sounds so crazy, but it's so good. Like,
Show them what's in it.
exactly. Show them yeah. And it may take a couple times because what do they say? It's that an unsure mind says no. So automatic. No, they won't take seller finance. Really, did you actually talk to them? Because I just emailed you 30 seconds ago. Well, they just won't. I said, do they understand the benefits? No. It's the realtor that needs to be working on it. Yeah.
She
Expired. Expired.
Well, then, yeah, then you
Yeah.
just pull the list of expired
Yeah,
listings.
expired, I
and then
go
you
through
call
all the
them.
time. I want to find the one.
It's so funny when you go through expireds, if you even ask the listing agent, you say, listen, oh, no. I'll give you $500 if this closes and you give me their phone number. Okay. $500 to make $30,000? Come on, guys. Don't leave dollars on the table because you're going to pick up the pennies. That's right. You say, I will pay you upon closing. I mean, you could even offer them a referral if the numbers make sense. A referral can be 20%, 30%, but make it make sense. So I had one that I emailed the listing agent off market. It was expired. I said, hey, I'd love to work with these people. She's like, they're a friggin' nightmare. Good luck. And I was like, all right. I said, I'll take it. They never responded, but she was so happy to give me that number that she might make money on that deal again.
And I just chalk that up as a goal.
Mhm.
You know, I would like to talk to you about a listing that I have right now.
Yeah.
in Kissimmee Bay.
Okay.
right? And problem is, it's been on the market about 70 something days. We've done like 2 price deductions.
Mhm.
But I think he would probably be interested in
Seller finance. Okay.
right? But I don't know how to.
structure it.
Right.
Yeah, that's where I come in.
Like, make it make sense.